All right, these are Pulsar valves. I just finished building them. It's fun to learn that. Like it's a Parker Pulsar stackable valve, but they have different like series under that name as well. First thing you do here is check to make sure all the parts are here. This is a 9 section. So yeah, these ones are nice because they come with all the seals already in them.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. So these check balls, that's the symbol for check balls on here. Okay. So we have to make sure they go in where they're supposed to be. But I'll usually mark them. Once they're out of the box, it's hard to re-identify what it is.
Yep.
So if I put 2 on the box and 2 on the valve, I know it came out of this box. So this is our first work section here. 1, 2, 1. They're pretty straightforward. They can only go on one way, obviously, the seal side to the flat face. These are flow controls. The thing is they're very customizable in terms of work sections. Yep. And if somebody needs a specific setup, it's probably harder to find a completed valve with that exact setup. Yep. Rather than just purchasing the individual sections and making what you need, right?
Yeah.
So the ball goes in that side there, just sits in there, and then it'll sit in this little recess on this side. And it's funny because when you test it too, you can actually hear the balls.
Oh, like actually?
Yeah, they rattle a little bit. Yeah.
That's a little metal ball moving?
Yeah. Because oil pushes past it one way. Yeah. But then it blocks it coming back the other way. Pulsar valves, I'm not the expert on them, but I've built a couple of them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We have a few more for you to build too.
Yeah.
I am the furthest from an expert on these as well.
Yeah.
I know enough to be dangerous.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Yeah.
But not enough to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do know that the pulsar part of it, so that it uses a frequency to shift the coil, as opposed to an amperage.
Do you need like a certain driver for that kind of thing? Or
I would, yeah, for sure.
Like the customer would have to have a certain setup to run.
Well, how do we test it? That's really where you got to start. Is you're going to put it together, and you have to test it.
Right.
So you kind of got to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, I will.
You might as well start. You might as well start figuring that out now.
Yeah.
And then tell me the answer, and then I'll tell the camera that I knew all along. Well, you want to try to figure it out without getting the electrical engineer involved. That's the key. You want to go as far as you can, because that's how you're going to learn, rather than having him come in and just say, it's this, this, and this.
Yeah. Well, let's go find it. Well, I know that this one, it's electronic proportional control, which is what that is. Control. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Lloyd.
I know.
He said no engineers. Where's Lloyd? Yeah, I'll stop him when he comes by. Oh, you know what it is? I just remembered. It is that black and blue one.
Okay.
There is a corresponding frequency to a specific voltage setting. I figured it out. I didn't need them. I think I figured it out. Yeah, we have our electronic proportional control hooked up. And then, yeah, pretty much we're just going to go through all the sections, make sure the spool's moving back and forth freely, pressurizing each section, making sure there's no leaks. And as we go, also doing the settings for the compensation.
Do you have to change the hookup every single time to all of them?
Yes.
Oh.
It's not an easy task, no.
Okay. Wait, on each side too?
Yes. Because you have to make sure that this is working properly. And it's moving the spool, so we would have to go check every single one. See, I was asking about getting into the electronic hydraulic control program. The way that they do it is there needs to be a certain amount of people interested at one time. Yeah. So it could take like a couple months or a year. But I do want to learn more about it, because if there's one thing that I'm lacking on, it's the electronic stuff.
And everything's just going more electronic nowadays.
Yeah, at some point most stuff will be electronic. So now we're on to our pressure compensated sections. So this one has pressure compensation, which is this little guy here. Can't forget the ball. So I have this solenoid here actuated right now, so it's pushing or pulling the spool one direction, which is blocking the flow of the oil, which is why you're not seeing any oil come out of the tank line. Now, if I turn the signal off, you'll see now it's going through the tank line. Yeah. So that's essentially how we know that the solenoid is working properly. I have that one blocked, which means I can now check my main relief because I have the compensators for these pushed all the way in. The relief valve kicks on right there. So right at just a hair over 3,000. So that's where we want it. If I want to adjust the compensation for this solenoid, it's on the opposite side. It'd be cool to see it working on a machine.
I know.
You can go to a motor, a cylinder, it can do a bunch of different things. There's lots of different controls on one of those machines. So.
Air conditioning? I don't know.
Well, maybe not that, but it's for something big.
Yeah.
Someone has my 9/16 socket. Hey Martino, do you have a 9/16 socket I can borrow? Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this one for now. Like I said, we'll when we get the other one built, we'll test them together so that we can make sure that the load sense is working properly between the two.
Yep.
My thumb gets really sore after holding this button for long.
Got it.
I'm not really getting proportional control, but I don't know if it's because there's settings on here that usually Noble figures out. But as long as I can actuate, then I can at least set all the pressures, come back afterwards, and then fiddle with it a little bit. Yeah. Hey Noble, like there's no buffer, it's just on or off. So essentially we're missing a load sense signal going into the front of the valve. Well, we might have to revisit this tomorrow. Okay. We did have some electrical issues that we resolved, and now I'm about to show that how the proportional pulsar valve actually works, and you'll be able to see you have very precise control over the flow going coming out of the workboards.
This is a new box. Didn't you have one on this side?
Same box. We took this one out because the knob, it's called the potentiometer, it wasn't working, so that's why we weren't getting our, it was just on or off. But now he switched the cards, and it's all working. Okay. The way that the Parker describes them as being as close to a servo valve as you can get without actually being a servo valve. So they're very precise, but they can also handle a lot of fluid contamination as well. So in the field, they're very reliable in that way. You'll see as I can go back and forth very slowly, you can see that the precise flow control that it gives.
And that's what we wanted to see before.
That's what we wanted to see before, but it was just going on, off. Yeah. We went through and checked all the settings and the pilot pressure, this and that.
The same section, this wire and this wire moves two separate things?
Not two separate things, but say this section would control, say, a cylinder. Well, one port would send oil to the cylinder and push the cylinder up, and then the other port would either drain back to the tank or would put oil back in the other side and push it the other way.
Got it.
So you're pushing and pulling the spool, which is allowing oil to go either one way or another. Directional control. Yeah.
Okay. And do you like working on this?
I do, because it's fairly new to me. So I'm learning a lot by going through it with John and testing all of the different things, making sure our pilot pressures are all good. It's fun to learn that kind of stuff moving forward, you know what I mean?
Yeah.